question of this video is, why is traditional Catholicism growing so much? The traditional Catholic movement can range from great lengths. Each group has its reasons, and the reasoning isn't always Vatican II, even though most of the time it is. We will start from the most lenient, going to the most radical of traditional Catholics. Some can argue some of these groups are pseudo-traditionalists. In this video, we will start at the Reverent Novus Ordo groups, the most lenient of all. The most lenient are those who miss the Reverent Novus Ordo, which is the Mass of Paul VI. You can find YouTube videos of the Reverent Novus Ordo Mass videos, and it's usually held by nostalgic boomers who grew up in the time of Paul VI. They were raised in the 1962 Missale to the Mass of Paul VI, and they tend to have some nostalgia. This nostalgia mainly roots from the spiritually dead feeling of the basic Novus Ordo and the clerical abuses done by Novus Ordo priests. When they were growing up in this time, the priest usually was not extremely modern by nature and tended to be a traditional-seeming priest progressively joining in the modern Catholic belief. The nostalgia of this last glimpse of a Mass without clerical abuse and a priest to have the last reverence for the Church under Pope Pius XIII. I have a family member who is similar to this, and the main reason he concedes to the clerical abuses of the non-reverent Novus Ordo Mass is because, quote, it's still the Eucharist. The next traditional Catholic group is the FSSP, Priestly Fraternity of St. Peter. When I see them online, it's usually teenagers who go to feel traditional because the Novus Ordo Mass does not fit their spiritual needs, and these teens are usually obsessed with Pope Pius XII, Benedict XVI, and John Paul II. They tend to critique the Protestants, hence it would be hypocritical for them to go to the Novus Ordo, which is intended for ecumenism with high church Protestants. The average parish owner, though, is someone who wants to be in full communion with Rome, but also have the pre-conciliar spirit. Many see this as a delusion, while others see it as the true Catholic spirit. Instead of just leaving the post-conciliar church, you stick with it and submit to it, but have the spirit of the Latin Mass. Historically speaking, this group is in the middle between Novus Ordo and the Society of St. Pius X. You want to feel pre-conciliar, but you don't want to be pre-conciliar. The next traditional Catholic group is the Society of St. Pius X. They were originally made by Archbishop Lefebvre to preserve the pre-conciliar church, which at the time the post-conciliar Vatican understood. They were the original FSSP, except they actually held a pre-conciliar faith, rather than wanting to feel such. Nowadays they are growing quickly due to most younger Catholics seeing the problems with Vatican II and looking into the pre-conciliar church teaching. Their chapels are flooding with young Catholics wanting to stick to the pre-conciliar teachings and to be pre-conciliar themselves. The boomers of this group were unlike the Reverent Novus Ordo ones. They do not concede easily and will not join to the reform of this church. The issue many had with this group was in the 1980s Archbishop Lefebvre put himself above John Paul II, consecrating bishops without his approval, so the Society of St. Pius X got excommunicated along with Lefebvre. In 2009, Benedict XVI lifted the excommunication of the Society of St. Pius X, and they live the pre-conciliar part of this new profound church. The next traditional Catholic group is based around Bishop Richard Williamson, who holds a more older version of the SSPX, believing the post-conciliar church has lost the true faith. Bishop Richard Williamson is also known to be more outspoken, speaking about controversial topics that no priest or bishop in the post-conciliar church would dare to mention. He is the more brave version of the SSPX. Many people join him because they join the traditional movement for the same reasons the SSPX ones do. They see the error in Vatican II, they study pre-conciliar teaching, and they want to practice the pre-conciliar faith. The ones who choose Bishop Williamson is because they want a strong pre-conciliar leader similar to Lefebvre, but since the SSPX has lost its strong leaders, they feel lost, so they switch groups and join Bishop Williamson to fight against modernism truly, and to not just be a weak remembrance of the pre-conciliar church. The next traditional Catholic group is the SSPV, Society of St. Pius V. I will tell you the history of the group and then why people are joining this group. This group originates from the SSPX. They were usually the more traditionalist priests of the group, rejecting the papacy of the post-conciliar popes or anti-popes. Due to this, they did not like the Una Cum Mass, but the SSPX, as it became weak, they began to force the una cum onto the priests. So the more traditional priests not wanting to be persecuted created the SSPV. The reason people join the SSPV is because they see the error of Vatican II and the apostasy and other things like the Assisi meetings with Lefebvre agreed with them on, except they actually act on this notion and are not scared. They are literally pre-conciliar, not wanting to recognize a false modern belief as actually being in the Church due to the unity of faith being a necessity. The next traditional Catholic group is the CMRI, the Congregation of Mary Immaculate Queen. They are technically the oldest sedevacantist. While most sedevacantist groups started during John Paul II, the CMRI started during Paul VI, as they, unlike the SSPX sedevacantists, weren't confused and knew exactly what was going on. The issue with the CMRI, though, is they have illicit ordinations, and their founder was ordained by an old Catholic bishop. Most people join for the same reasons as the SSPV, the apostasy of Vatican II. But a lot more people seem to like the CMRI since they recognize the Thuch bishops, which makes it easier for them to be more mainstream since the Thuch bishops are everywhere. The next traditional Catholic group is the RCI, which is a sedepravationist group. They are just like the others, they believe Vatican II is an apostasy. The difference is, they still recognize the idea that an anti-pope can elect cardinals due to him seemingly being the pope, just like the Western Schism. Sanborn is more popular when it comes to the traditional community because he puts himself out there more, so much that he even has relations to Archbishop Vigano. So most people usually hear what he has to say more than the CMRI or SSPV, so they tend to follow in his footsteps the most. The next traditional Catholic group is the Diamondites, Most Holy Family Monastery or VaticanCatholic.com. They are a sedevacantist group that is different than the others due to their hyper-anathematizations, like anathematizing baptism of desire or the co-redemptrix. The Diamondite cult originates from a Catholic monk who wanted to preserve the Latin Mass for ordinary Catholics. His name was Joseph Natalai. The group itself that he started was a bit cultist. Right before his death, he claimed to have a vision that John Paul II was misunderstood the whole time, and that he was actually a great pope. Michael Diamond then took over the monastery and became a disciple of Peter Diamond, who had relations to the Feeneyite priest Father Wathan. Many reject this group due to their positions being condemned by Pope Pius the 12th, and this same group saying whoever rejects their positions on this issue are manifestly heretical. They also say the same for the co-redemptrix, but this also makes no sense due to the Pope never explicitly anathematizing the title. They are a very small group, but do have devoted followers and about 3 priests in America. The reason most people convert is because they are extremely big on the internet, and most people want to embrace the traditional faith, but only know of the Diamondites, so they tend to think the Diamond Brothers are the last beacons of truth, and become cult-like followers.